What's up, Multiverse of Mayhem fans? Today, we're diving into the legacy of the man who didn't just kick off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he defined it. Because when you really look at the Infinity Saga from start to finish, almost every major turning point connects back to one person, Tony Stark. This is the story of how Iron Man changed the MCU forever, through innovation, mistakes, leadership, and ultimately, sacrifice. To understand his impact, we have to start with Iron Man. This wasn't just the first MCU movie, it was a gamble that redefined superhero films. Instead of starting with a traditional, morally perfect hero, Marvel introduced Tony Stark as a genius billionaire weapons manufacturer whose own technology was being used to harm innocent people. His capture in Afghanistan and his decision to build the first suit weren't just about survival, they were about accountability. That shift from self-interest to responsibility became the emotional blueprint of the MCU. And when Tony publicly declares, "I am Iron Man," it breaks the long-standing superhero trope of secret identities and establishes a universe where heroes are known and held accountable. Moving forward, Tony quickly becomes the central pillar connecting the MCU's early phases. In Iron Man 2, we see the consequences of his public identity, government pressure, corporate threats, and the physical toll of the arc reactor poisoning his body. It reinforces a key idea. Tony's greatest strength, his technology, is also a constant risk. That theme carries directly into the Avengers, where he evolves from a solo hero into part of a team. While Steve Rogers represents structure and leadership, Tony challenges authority and pushes boundaries. And yet, he's the one who makes the ultimate play at the end of the film, flying a nuclear missile through a wormhole to stop the Chitauri invasion. That moment marks the first time Tony is willing to sacrifice himself for something bigger than his own survival. That experience leaves a lasting impact, which we see explored in Iron Man 3. Following the Battle of New York, Tony struggles with anxiety and panic attacks, showing one of the most grounded portrayals of trauma in the MCU. Instead of relying purely on his armor, he's forced to operate without it for much of the film, proving that his ability to think, adapt, and persevere is what truly defines him as a hero. It reinforces that Iron Man is not just the suit, it's the person inside it. As threats grow larger, so do Tony's fears. And that leads directly into one of the most important turning points in the MCU. In Avengers: Age of Ultron, Tony attempts to create a global defense system, describing it as a way to put a suit of armor around the world. His intentions are rooted in protecting Earth from future threats, but the result is Ultron, an artificial intelligence that nearly causes global extinction. This is one of the clearest examples of Tony's greatest flaw, his need to control the future, even when it leads to dangerous consequences. Those consequences don't just disappear, they fracture the Avengers. In Captain America: Civil War, Tony supports the Sokovia Accords, believing oversight is necessary after the destruction caused in previous battles. His guilt over Ultron and the events in Sokovia pushes him toward accountability, while Steve Rogers stands for autonomy. This ideological divide turns into a personal conflict, especially after Tony learns the truth about his parents' death. The result is the Avengers becoming divided at a critical time, changing the dynamic of the team moving forward. At the same time, we see a more personal side of Tony through his relationship with Peter Parker in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Tony takes on a mentorship role, guiding Peter while trying to teach him responsibility. He doesn't just give him power, he challenges his judgment, even taking the suit away when Peter makes reckless decisions. This shows how far Tony has come as a character. He's no longer just thinking about himself, he's thinking about the next generation of heroes. Then we reach a major turning point in Avengers: Infinity War. Tony is one of the few heroes who fully recognizes the scale of the threat posed by Thanos. He confronts Thanos directly on Titan and plays a key role in the effort to stop him. But despite everything, the Avengers fail, and the snap wipes out half of all life in the universe. Tony survives, not because he wins, but because he has to live with the consequences of that failure, something that deeply shapes what comes next. That failure leads directly into Avengers: Endgame, where Tony's story reaches its conclusion. At the beginning, he steps away from the fight and builds a quiet life, starting a family and choosing peace. But when the chance to undo the snap becomes possible, he returns, not out of obligation, but out of responsibility. And in the final battle, Tony makes the ultimate sacrifice. He takes the Infinity Stones and uses them to eliminate Thanos and his army, fully aware that it will cost him his life. In that moment, his entire journey comes full circle. Looking at the bigger picture, Tony Stark's legacy operates on multiple levels. He's a technological innovator whose creations shape how heroes fight and defend the world. He's a central figure in the MCU's biggest conflicts, with decisions that create ripple effects across multiple films. And he's a character who evolves in a way that audiences can follow from beginning to end, from self-centered genius to selfless hero. Even after his death, that legacy continues. His influence lives on through the people he mentored, the technology he created, and the example he set. The MCU after Endgame feels different, and that's because the character who helped define it is no longer there. But that absence is part of the story. It shows just how much of an impact he had. So when we ask how Iron Man changed the MCU forever, the answer isn't just about where it started or how it ended. It's about everything in between. Tony Stark didn't just shape the MCU, he is the reason it became what it is. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the MCU has truly moved on from Tony Stark? Or is his legacy still the foundation of everything we're seeing today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button, subscribe to Multiverse of Mayhem, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. Until next time, stay chaotic, stay informed, and remember, the multiverse is mayhem. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.